Good to see everyone. Again, looking forward to playing. As we know, 9 days away. It's getting closer, but again, these next couple days are very, very critical for us. Right now, we're talking to our players about being game ready. And are you game ready? Can you go out there and play 80, 90 snaps at a very, very high level? And as a coaching staff, we met today. We reviewed everyone in our football program. Are they game ready? If they're not game ready, what do they need to do to get themselves to be game ready? And then we'll have some game ready meetings where they have some goals, some things that they know that they have to get accomplished here in the next few days with practice and recovery to get themselves into being game ready. So we'll take a couple days, we'll do that. We have our mock game tonight, which is obviously very, very important to our football team, especially for our younger players, of all the moving parts and pieces and components that go into organizing a sideline, different scenarios that can happen throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of the game. So looking forward to see the mental effort, the mental intensity, what it takes to play winning football in those situations tonight in Neyland Stadium, and see how our players respond to that. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Go ahead, go Jimmy and Steve.
Butch, your players are having 2 days off. Is that typical of what you do, and is that just to allow them to recover?
It's very, very typical, and it is allow them to recover. And it's what you do with those 48 hours. You don't want to completely shut the body down for 24, but it's the 48 hours. That's why it's 2 days. But we'll have recovery, and there'll be some recovery items that they have to do to get themselves ready to go. So a big part of it is the recovery, getting caught up in academics. And you always want energy, you always want that excitement when you know it's truly game week. We come back and there's usually a special aura that's throughout the building and the players, and they know that reality's set in, that it's about game time. And sometimes that reality is also some anxiousness, especially for some younger players that maybe have not played as much. But those are 2 big recovery days for us.
Steve, Jonathan, and Grant.
You had mentioned at a press conference about a week or 2 ago that you like to keep journals about what's going on each day. I'm just wondering, how long have you been doing that? What started it, and how do you think it's helped you with it all?
Actually started it as an assistant coach, and then obviously when I became a head coach. And I think a lot of times we spend nervous energy thinking about things and maybe creating things that aren't there. So it's a little bit also a check on myself to see where I was spending my time, the nervous energy, the thought process. And then I like to go back and compare certain teams of, at this date, where was this team compared to this team. So I think it's really lends itself, to be able to go back and look at things. And we're in a profession, this is a job where no 2 days are ever the same. Every day there's something different. So you forget about it as you continue to move on. So just being able to keep track and really being able to go back and really rely on that. And it's something that I rely on quite frequently. And not just, the overall job, but also situational football. Different situations that have occurred throughout 10 years, but also throughout practice. We've had some situations in situational football that have not occurred in years, that all of a sudden you're scrimmaging and something comes up, whether it's 1 minute management, 4 minute management, what have you. You always have to try to be prepared.
Jonathan, Grant, Trenton, and Mr. Bryce.
Hey Coach, some of your offensive linemen last Saturday showed on SportsCenter that they're pretty funny guys. Just how much easier is to coach a group of guys that are able to have fun during practice and sometimes laugh at themselves?
Well, wait till you see the blooper reel. You'll really get a good chuckle. But that's what it's all about. It's fun and spirit. I think it also speaks to the brotherhood and team chemistry of the football team, but also they can laugh and have fun. And these are 17 to 21, 22-year-old individuals. These are the greatest times of your life. This is where you really do have best friends. You have that camaraderie of being part of a team. And you need to step back and you need to enjoy it. And while they were on SportsCenter, everyone else was down eating in Smokies, and it was a pretty good scene there. Everyone was standing up, laughing at them, watching it. But also, I think another great illustration of the power of Tennessee in the the visibility that you have when you play football here at Tennessee as well.
But you talked about talking to players about being game ready. Jalen Reese Maven said yesterday he really won't know about his shoulder until he gets out there in a live game situation. Is there any concern about his shoulder from your staff? It's 100% ready to go?
No, he's 100%. And, he's shown it throughout the course of his career. He's done everything that he's needed to do to get himself into being game ready. Now it's just going out and doing. Even though he's been limited in the green jersey, he's still thudded. He's still been in some contact situations. So I don't see that being one issue.
Trenton, John, Bryce, and Patrick.
Coach, Jalen Hurd and Alvin Kamara are definitely the front runners at running back. What are you seeing from them and from your entire running back committee this offseason?
Very, very competitive group. They push each other each and every day. They want to be great. I think they complement each other. Their skill sets complement each other. When you throw John Kelly in there, I think J.K. has had his best camp to date. He's really grown. You look at the impact that he's made on special teams, and now he's making that same impact offensively as well. It's a very competitive group. I think it's great for Carlin, to be able to learn from them, and also the rest of our young running backs as well. And again, they're very, very prideful. They're very competitive. They compete with each other, but they're very, very supportive of each other as well.
Bryce and Patrick.
Butch, a two-parter here, please. Number one, Juwan Jennings, can you update him? Do you expect him to be available for the first game? I don't know that we've seen him out of a green jersey when we've been out there. And then number two, several of the guys said yesterday that they feel like they're a little bit fresher exiting this camp and going into the preseason. What have you learned through the years that's helped you with that? And specifically, what have you learned since you've been here at Tennessee and developed this roster basically from the ground up?
First of all, Juwan, we do anticipate him being ready to go. We'll know a little bit more here in the next couple days, but we do anticipate him being available for the game Thursday night and being back at practice. In terms of being fresh and being healthy, I think every team is different, like we talked about when the preseason started. We have great people here, great resources. I think it's the investment in the sports science end of things, of really understanding the body. And I think it's understanding your football team. When do they need it? When do you need to back off a little bit? There's a balancing act there. Even when you back off, though, the demands don't change. It may be more from a mental effort, mental intensity standpoint. But I do think it's knowing your football team. Also, I think it's a tribute to our players from a maturity standpoint. They understand the standards and the expectations of the foam rollers, the cold tubs, the 8 to 9 hours of sleep, the nutrition that goes along with it. So I think it's a complete commitment to sports science. I think it's a little bit of maturity from our older players. So I think it's a combination of all those things, and then being able to have a good judge and a good read on your football team of what's needed in sudden change. And even though we plan practices out, weeks ahead of time, what does that particular team need at that particular moment in time? And there was times when we adjusted training camp, whether it was practicing when we weren't supposed to practice, or vice versa, or changing up the structure of practice. Like yesterday, it was a complete change in our practice format. We had a start fast period. In period 3, we went in and we basically scrimmaged. And all those things, I think, is what your team needs, and the ability to adapt and adjust. And like I said, our players have done a great job with all that. Thanks.
Patrick, Hubsy, and Mike Griffith.
Butch, have you settled on who your backup quarterback will be?
Quentin Dormady. Quentin Dormady's one snap away. I thought he had his best practice of the day yesterday. Thought he was in command. He made all the throws. Again, those 3 individuals are competing every day. Sharon's still a little bit limited, but I've liked the growth and development of Jared as well, and we're bringing him along. But right now, obviously Josh and Quentin's one snap away, and he's done a good job. Particularly, he had his best day yesterday.
I guess how much did Jared, since Sean was limited, how much did Jared kind of push Quentin for that spot?
Well, they're all pushing each other. That's the great thing about that room, is they're very, very competitive. So, they compete in everything. They compete in the meeting room, they compete in individual, And that's what we want. Competition is healthy. That's how you improve. We always talk about, too, the standards and the expectations have to exceed your skill level. If your expectations and your standards exceed your skill level, that means growth. That's how you're going to improve. You have to continue to push yourself, and all those individuals, from Zach Jancic to Sharon Jones to all of them, they push each other each and every day.
Butch, on Shy, is he further along than you thought? How do you manage him in the game week? And two, are you going to get more contributions out of this freshman class than maybe even you thought you would when you assembled it and looked at the roster you had coming back?
Shy continues to be work in progress. Again, is he game ready yet? We'll see. He's not game ready right now, but we don't play till 9 days. So he still has a lot of time, but he has made progress. I think he's right on schedule. He's right on schedule where he thought he would be. He's doing anything and everything that we ask of him. He's been very, very committed to the recovery process. So again, he's on schedule, so we'll see in the next week. In terms of the freshman class, we're going to play a lot of true freshmen. Right now, I think going in the game, I won't tell you who they are, but I believe there's 4 individuals out of the entire recruiting class right now that are on plans to redshirt. And we usually, let the season play itself out. And, that's the thing, is everything is about growth and development. There may be a young man that's not quite ready for App State, but 3 or 4 or 5 weeks down the road, he may be ready. And that's why we have to continue to grow and develop our players each and every day in the classroom and on the field. But this is a freshman class that I've been very, very pleased with. Everyone's been very pleased. Our older players have done a great job with them, but this is one of our most talented freshman classes, and they're very, very competitive.
Finish up with Mike Griffith, Jimmy, Paul, Austin, and Rob.
Coach, we had Coach DeBoard in here the other day, and I asked him about the spread and the time of possession issue that can create, putting your defense out there quickly. I'm wondering, as far as how you use the spread, is it something that you're in nonstop? Is it something that you could back off on, considering some of the personnel? I mean, what's your philosophy on the spread and how that plays into time of possession?
It's interesting you bring that up, because I don't think anyone truly has defined what the spread is. Every offense that they say they run the spread offense, they have a personality or dynamic that's different to them. And that's what we talk is being unique to us. It's only unique to the University of Tennessee and how we play offensive football. It may be from tempo standpoint, it may be from a personnel standpoint, it may be from a formational standpoint. But when everyone talks about the spread, it's kind of like the West Coast offense term. It's very, very widely used. We have multiple tempos within our inventory of offense. I think you have to continue to mix your tempos up. I don't think you can play football at one constant speed. I do think part of playing great defense is protecting your defense. Again, if you look at last year, we did not turn the football over very much. I believe we only had 12 turnovers, which was 4th in the country. Our defense only started on their side of the 50 12 times all year. We protected our defense. And I think that's part of the winning formula. But there's going to be times when we're going to have to push the tempo, and points are going to be at a premium as well. So again, I think each game is different. Each game has a different storyline for winning. But in terms of the spread offense, I think there's little nuances, little differences. There's some subtle differences across the country. But for us, we want to push the tempo, but also be able to back the tempo off as well.
Jimmy, Paul, Austin, Rob.
Wake up, Jimmy.
That's such a great quote. I was had to get every word in. Have you installed much with Appalachian State, and also I'm sure you look a lot of film over your thoughts on Appalachian State?
Yeah, we have a very, very talented football team. Very, very well coached. Very, very disciplined. Play with tremendous effort in all 3 phases. They expect to win. And you look at it, the success that they've had. So they definitely have our respect, and they definitely have, have our time in terms of in practice structure. But we've also tried to really focus on ourselves. We'll get more into App State as the week progresses, but we have practiced them just because of the different schemes that they do. They do some different schemes that challenge your systems, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. So we have spent time preparing for them, and we'll continue to prepare for them.
Butch, Steve asked you earlier about your journals, and you said that you use them to compare to where your teams are in camp and leading up to the season. Where is this team when you compare them, not only to the teams you've been here, but your conference championship teams at Cincinnati? Where does this team compare to all those?
That's a really good question, and that's kind of the uncertainty as the season approaches, because you only get an opportunity to practice against yourself. So one area you may think is really good, well, maybe it's a byproduct of being deficient in another area, or one area is just really good. So that's first games are the game of the unknowns. There's no tendencies. Sometimes there's new coaching, there's new fundamentals, there's new schemes, there's new players that haven't played before or had a role before. So you really don't know what to expect. The great thing with us is we've had a number of players, so we kind of have an idea of what to expect. But those first games are the game of the unknowns, and so you have to prepare for anything and everything. And you have to be game ready, and you have to be able to start fast and finish strong, which we talk about. But I do like the mentality of our team. I'm still trying to gauge how tough of a football team we are, not just physically, but mentally. And a lot of times you really don't find out about that until, some adversity strikes. What type of leadership when adversity strikes? Who's going to step up and make big plays at critical moments of the game? But I do like what I've seen. But we also know where our deficiencies are, and we have to make sure that we're continuing to improve those deficiencies. And it gets back to the power of the position and being 9 strong, and every individual being realistic of where they're at and continue to grow and develop. And the mark of really good football teams, if you say what's one of the common traits or themes, they progressively get better week in and week out. You can see the marked progress from week 1 to week 3 to week 10. The great teams, the teams that win championships, they get better week in and week out. And they hold each other to a very, very high standard. And it doesn't matter who the opponent is, they play the same each and every week. They have a workmanlike approach, never too high, never too low. And I see some of those characteristics with this team, but we'll know a little bit more as the season progresses. And obviously Thursday night we'll know a lot more about this football team.
Butch, Khalil came in last year with a lot of hype. Not really, cracked the starting lineup, to this point. Can you talk about where he's really improved from last year and where he still has to grow as a player?
To Khalil's credit, if you look at this individual, obviously very, very highly recruited, very high profile type individual. And first of all, he's a great character person, obviously raised by a great mother and father, great home life. But I think, again, we put all these high standards and expectations on 17-year-old kids that are very, very unrealistic. Here's a young man that didn't even play his senior year, showed up, was injured, so he missed about 2 weeks of training camp. And again, he's a 17-year-old kid playing in a dominated 19 to 22-year-old football conference that's a line of scrimmage league. Night and day how far he's come. He's down to about, 305 or so. His body's completely changed. He's invested in his body, and he continues to get better and better and better. And, we've had, quote unquote, 2 top 5 recruiting classes, but this recruiting class will rival any of the recruiting classes we've had here. And again, you don't judge recruiting classes on the rankings. You judge the recruiting classes 3 or 4 years down the road. Out of those individuals you signed, were they impact players? Were they role players? How many misses did you have? And then why were they misses? All those things that we constantly evaluate our recruiting process and our recruiting classes. But Khalil has done a remarkable job of getting his mindset right, getting his body right. He's able to finish plays more. His football stamina has increased. His strength has increased. So he's worked very, very hard. And he's a very prideful young man. I enjoy showing him, setting him text message videos of other players and kind of challenging him within his recruiting class. And he's a football junkie, and I'm always working to motivate him because I know he's a motivated individual.
Yes, sir, Rob.
Butch, looks like you have some obvious talent at wideout with Josh, with Preston. But Alvin is your leading receiver coming back as a running back. What have you seen from that group to make you feel? I mean, you have confidence they're ready to take that next step?
I do. I think the big thing is health, is maintaining our health on the perimeter of our offense. That's going to be critical because we're still not where we need to be in numbers. We're going to have to play some true freshmen at that position. And next year we'll have to play a bunch of true freshmen there as well as we work to get our numbers back at the wide receiver position. But the growth that Preston's made and Josh has made, we just spoke about Khalil, same type of growth. And that's the thing, is coaching is creating change, and you can see these players changing from their mindsets, the way they take care of their bodies, to the development of their bodies, to all that goes along with it. So I've been pleased. I think as a whole that group has had a very, very good camp. If you told me there's two keys to this group. The ability to make clutch plays, big plays, go up, high point the ball, play the ball in the air. And I think the other key component to the receiver position is just consistency. Consistency in performance each and every day, whether it's on game day or on the practice field. We need a high level of consistency. And those two individuals you just mentioned in terms of Preston and Josh Smith have really done an exceptional job of bringing that consistency week in and week out, day in.